Here's the back page of your journal. Remember, there's just two sides. It's all here for the most part. Nothing's ever going to be there 100%, but I guarantee you the majority of what you need to know for 5th grade is on this, at least for Texas students anyway. So let's go over what's on the back. Remember, watch this as much as you want to. Rewind certain parts. It's just me going over the journal with you is all it is. Okay, I'm on the back now. Side B, if you want to call it that. Cross multiply. The main reason to do that is just to see which one's bigger. Let me even grab let's use this pen today, right here. See right there? 3/4 and 2/3, which is bigger. Well, if you know the decimals that you should memorize, you know that's 75 cents, and that's about 66, closer to 67 cents. But you can also cross multiply. You're not multiplying, you're cross multiplying to see which is bigger. If you cross multiply, you would go from this denominator to that numerator, giving you a 9, and this denominator to that numerator, giving you an 8. 9 is bigger than 8, therefore 3/4 is greater than 2/3. Simplify. Greatest common factor is what you want to find. The biggest one they both have to divide them both with. As it says, divide the top and the bottom by the same number. If you use your journal, you will do well, but you have to use your journal. So right here, same number, same number, same number. 8/4 is the same as 2/1, which is really 2 because it's improper. But you divide them both by a 4 because 4 goes into 8 equally and 4 equally. Here's a little trick. Whenever the smaller number, well, not the smaller number, when you have a smaller number, which you're going to have a smaller number unless they're both the same, try dividing both of them with that smaller number between the two parts and see if it fits into both. It'll save you some time. Now, if that had been a 9 up there, a 4 wouldn't have worked. Because if you count by 4, 8, 12, see how that doesn't work for 8? See how it doesn't work for 9 if it was 9? But it works for 8. So 4 going to 8 2 times, 4 going to 4 1 time. So 2/1 is the same as 8/4, which equals 2. Now 15/35, which is a proper fraction, well, it ends in a 5, so what do you think is going to happen? They both can be divided by a 5. So 15 divided by 5 is 3, 35 divided by 5 is 7. In other words, if you skip count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, see how I said 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, it goes into both. 3/7 is the same. And up here, remember, you can cross multiply them side by side, and you would find that you'd get the same number if you cross multiplied. And 3/4, a lot of kids get tricked by this. They realize 3/4 is simply already simplified. Its smallest form. It's like saying my name, Ronald. Well, my name is Ron, right? Ron is a version of Ronald, but I'm still the same person. This is like saying Ronald twice, or actually it's more like saying Ron twice because it's the smaller version of it, the smallest version. So it's already simplified. Now, right here, different denominators. Let's go up a little bit. This is where some of you are getting better, but need more practice. Okay. If they're different denominators, remember bottom is denominator, you can't have it that way. That will not work. So what you would do is you'd simply get a common denominator, find the common. Well, one way to do it is to go 6 times 8, take the bottom two numbers and multiply them together, and notice you got 6 times 8, and then 8 times 6, because you're multiplying them together, and you get a 48 down here, right? What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. If you went 6 times 8 here, you got to go 2 times 8 on the top. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. 2 times 8 is 16. Look right here. 8 times 6 is 48. Well, you said times 6, so do it to the top. 3 times 6 is 18. Add up the top, 34, but the bottom stays the same. Don't be adding the bottom up. That'd be crazy town. It's 34/48, which in reality, you can't have that, so you need to simplify. Lower terms, lesser terms, reducing, as we said back in the day. So right here, what can go into both? Well, they're both even. Well, won't even numbers always have a 2? Now, a 4 could work, would it? But you could try a 4, but if you count by 4s, you're not going to say both numbers. You could try 6, but same thing. 6 is not going to work for 34, I know that. Now, 6 times 8 is 48, but it would have worked only for the bottom. It has to work for both. So the greatest common factor is 2. 34 divided by 2 is 17, and 48 divided by 2 is 24. Now, on this side, 2 6 plus 3 8 is the same one. You could also just skip count the bottom numbers, 6, 12, 18, 24, 8, 16, 24, and you keep going until you get the same number for both. So in fact, the one you could use for both is a 24 on the bottom. But how did the 6 become a 24? Times 4. What you do to the bottom, do to the top. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So what you do to the bottom, do to the top. 3 times 3 is 9. You get 17/24, which you will notice is what I got from doing it the other way. What do to the bottom, you do to the top. Ta-da! I'm confused. Well, keep studying it. You won't be. 1 whole. A half and a half is a whole. It's like a candy bar. Cut it in half. I'd rather have a whole candy bar, but half is better than nothing. A third is cutting into 3 equal pieces. And a fourth is cutting it into 4 equal pieces. Remember, it's fractions. Fractions like you fracture your arm. You break your arm. What do you think fractions are? It's a piece or a part of something, if you think about it. So, and notice, the bigger the bottom number, the smaller it gets. The bigger the denominator. Let's go up here. Let's see if there's anything else. There's more stuff down here for the payroll and stuff. We'll get to that later. Now, prime, composite, binary. Prime numbers only have 2 factors, 1 and itself. 2 is the only even prime number. 1 times 2, so it's prime. 3. 1 times 3, it's prime. 5. 1 times 5 is prime. 7. 1 times 7, it's prime. 1 times 11 is prime. Because think about it. If you try a 2 times something, it's not going to equal 3 exactly. And you can't use decimals, so don't try that. You can't use halves, any of that kind of stuff. On this side, you have composites, which have more than 2 factors. Zeros and ones are just binary numbers. Don't worry about that. 2 is the only even prime number, as I said. But 4, you have 1 times 4 and 2 times blank. That has 3 factors, 1, 4, and a 2. You don't say 2 times 2 twice because it's the same number twice. You don't want to do that. So it has 3 factors. 6 has 1 times 6 and 2 times 3, so it has 4 factors, 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 is 1 times 8, 2 times 4. It has 4 factors. The only even prime number is 2. Prime list, you also have 13, 17, 19. I skipped one here. Some students noticed. What was it? It's not 21, not 20. I think it's 23 should be there. But there's also 29, 31, 37, 41, 43, 47, 53, etc. Remember, not all odd numbers are going to be prime. For instance, if I'd kept going over here on my composite list, I could have put a 9, and 9 is 1 times 9 and 3 times blank, because 3 times 3, right? That has 3 factors, so 9 would be composite. So don't get all confused here. Now let's get to order of operations. I would use PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally for ordering your operations. Put them in the right order. Notice brackets, parentheses, exponent with a 2, multiply, divide, which is either order, it doesn't matter. Addition, subtraction, either order, doesn't matter, whatever's first. But you always got to do appear first and check off the list as you go. Exponents, by the way, which is what you do in 6th grade, 5 with a small 2 is called squared. 5 times 5 is 25. It does not mean 5 times 2. 5 with a small 3 means 5 times 5 times 5, which is 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. 5/2 is squared. 5/3 is cubed, also known as power of. The power of 2, the power of 3, the power of 4, etc. Now, as you work one of these puppies out, you would do this right here. Look, here's the problem right here. 5 plus 3, you would say times if it's side by side. 8 minus 3 squared minus 10 divided by 2. You want to do parentheses first if you follow the rules, and you bring it all down as you go. 8 minus 3 is 5. Don't forget to put the exponent of 2. 5 plus 3 times 5 squared minus 10 divided by 2. You cannot add 5 plus 3 first, remember? You did the E now. Do the E now, not did the E now. That's why I don't teach grammar. 5 times 5 is 25. So now you bring it all down, except what you just did. 5 plus 3 times 25 minus 10 divided by 2. Remember, there's a times there between those two. So you do not do 5 plus 3. You would go 3 times 25 is 75. Bring it down, bring that down. You would do 10 divided by 2 is 5. So you got 5 plus 75 minus 5. Now you can go 5 plus 75 is 80 minus 5 is 75. Now if your minus had been in the front and your plus had been back here, you would have done the minus first. Because remember, these don't matter as long as you do whatever's first, like reading a sentence left to right. Same thing with multiply and divide. Now, let's look right here at volume. Talk about easy. Volume is length times width times height, or big B times height. Big B is just the base, the bottom part of this shape, the bottom. So the 5 times 2, which is the base, or length times width times height. Big B is the L and the W already done. You would just multiply the length times width times height. You'd go do one thing at a time. 5 times 2 is 10. Take your 8 next, because it's right here, bring it down. 10 times 8 is 80. Boom, the volume is 80. Now, if you talked about the area of the base, that's the bottom. You're not talking about the height, just the base. the length and the width. You would do this. You would do area is what? Side times side on a cube and rectangular prism. It's length times width. What's 5 times 2 is 10. Ta-da! Perimeter is add all the sides of the base. Perimeter of the base. It would be 5 plus 2 is 7. But remember, it has other sides that aren't accounted for as far as numbers being put next to them. But wouldn't obviously a 5 be across from that and a 2 be across from that? 5 plus 2 is 7, and 7 plus 7 is 14. Or as I wrote it like this, you could do it that way. Another way you'll see volume is like this one right here, in layers. I would count it like a layer cake. You know, there's a top layer, bottom layer, another layer maybe. I see 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 on top, there's 4 on the bottom. That's 8. 2 layers of 4. 4 and 4 is 8. That's all there is to it. I'll call this part 2 of the journal. I'll end it in a second.